Hey folks, this is Gray here, and in today's video we're going to discuss freeze dryers and are they worth the investment? All right, so in this video, before we go over the specific topics that we're going to be discussing in this video, I want to address one thing. Right off the bat is, yes, I'm in my dining room, the kitchen, so there's going to be somewhat of an echo, so the sound will not be perfect. So let's do this and break down this video in several different segments, and I'll put chapters down in the description as well for folks looking for specific types of information. So first, what we'll end up discussing is the upfront cost of purchasing a freeze dryer. Second, we'll also look at ways to utilize a freeze dryer and how it can benefit you in regards to your food storage and emergency pantries. Third, we'll look at nutritional value. And what I mean by nutritional value is when you're processing food for your long-term food pantry, are you using a dehydrator? Are you using, a pressure canner, or are you buying commercially canned foods? And how does that relate to owning a freeze dryer? Third, we'll discuss on ways to make extra money to pay for your freeze dryer to offset the cost of your initial investment. And fourth, we'll wrap it up with me kind of giving you some pros and cons and things that I've experienced using my freeze dryer, as well as a holiday message from my family to yours. All right, so first of all, so I got a harvestright. I know there's a couple other machines out there. I purchased a harvestright. No, harvestright did not send me this machine for free, which would have been awesome, but they did not. So what I did is I purchased a medium-sized harvestright Black Pro Edition. I think that's the term for it. And because it had the 5 trays, it's an upgrade from the older versions, and I think that was going to work best for me and my family and the amount of food that we're trying to process. I do want to mention that I reached out to harvestright in regards to their products and stuff like that. I told them, hey, I have a YouTube channel and whatnot. And they said, hey, if you want, you can become an affiliate partner with us. And they reiterated they do not send freeze dryers for free to folks. But I did affiliate with them in case other folks are looking for a freeze dryer, and they could use the links down in the description as well as any pinned comments. Of course, anytime you click that link and actually happen to purchase something, if you're in the market for something like this, it benefits the channel. I just like to be transparent with things like that. But I want to reiterate, I did buy this freeze dryer. So that being said, the initial cost for a medium-sized freeze dryer like what I purchased here, when they're not on sale, can range anywhere from $300 to $3,200. So that's a lot of money. But a lot of times if you can catch harvestright, depending on, I think they might even be having a Black Friday sale. I didn't really look. If there is, I'll put it up on the screen. And you can save, money there. But as well as other sales throughout the year, you just kind of want to check in every once in a while and kind of see what kind of sales and offerings that they offer to the community. And of course, they have all different types of sizes from your small all the way up to your XL and commercial editions. All right, I think that should cover the cost of the initial purchase of a freeze dryer. I do want to kind of discuss why I decided to purchase a freeze dryer myself to kind of give you guys an idea of what path I took and why I took this path. So there's a lot of freeze-dried companies out there, that can offer you different types of number 10 cans and bags and yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. You have Mountain House, Augustin's Farms, and of course the list is very broad. When I started looking at what it would cost me to buy a number 10 can of ground beef via, let's say, the NutriStore or Mountain House or something like that, it's very costly. So I wanted to kind of figure out how much would it cost me if I owned my own freeze dryer, and how much money would that save me for me doing this myself. Honestly, it was quite shocking once I did the math. The average price for number 10 can of ground beef per se, we're going to use that as an example, versus what it cost me was just astronomical. Basically, I can process the same amount of meat that's in that can for probably like an eighth or a third of the cost of what you would normally pay on a number 10 can that's not on sale. And the other thing I wanted to add to this is, so lately we've been doing a lot of gardening, and we've been getting a lot of fruits and vegetables and things like that from our garden. And a lot of times, if we don't process it fast enough, the food goes bad. So this is going to roll into the nutritional value of the foods that you're processing using a freeze dryer and how they differ from doing traditional canning methods like pressure canning or even dehydration, which honestly, this is one of the biggest selling factors for me as well. So when you're using a dehydrator or a pressure canner, you're using a lot of heat. So when you apply heat to foods, of course, it reduces the nutritional value of those foods. Now with a freeze dryer, you're retaining 95 to 97% of that nutritional value in the food that you're processing. So to me, it was a no-brainer in regards to moving forward in regards to buying a freeze dryer. Now, I didn't buy this freeze dryer overnight. I'd like to state that up front. It took me about a year of saving a couple $100s here and there before I decided to buy the freeze dryer. So it is an initial cost. I look at it this way. When you go out to buy, like say, a brand new refrigerator or some other home appliances, some of these home appliances cost just as much as a freeze dryer, and I consider a freeze dryer a home appliance. So we discuss ways to save money in regards to owning a freeze dryer. Now let's discuss ways to make money by using a freeze dryer. So I have a lot of friends and family that, are into the same mindset that I am in regards to building a food pantry for either now or long-term storage. So when I mentioned to them the type of money that I can save in regards to making my own recipes, my own leftovers, my own beef and chicken and eggs, and the list goes on of what you can freeze dry, they saw the light as well. As most folks, a lot of people are financially constrained and don't have the finances to go out and purchase a freeze dryer for themselves. So basically, one opportunity that rose up for me is I would basically rent out time. I would process their food for them. They would give me whatever they want freeze dried. I would tell them what it costs me, how much time it's going to cost, depending on the type of food that it is, be it if it's, fruits and vegetables, or it's meats or poultry or whatever it may be, or whatever they're trying to obtain from this. And I would give them a ballpark figure of what it would cost, and save them still hundreds of dollars on products that they're trying to normally wouldn't have to go out and buy, let's say at Amazon or a Bass Pro or Sports Academy or wherever that people buy freeze-dried foods at. So that's just one way to make additional income in owning a freeze dryer. Another option, and this you could say is my daughter's fault. So as I'm processing, I was running a couple of batches of eggs, right? And my daughter comes up to me and says, "Hey, Dad, can you do candy in your freeze dryer? I wanted to show you these things on her phone." I don't know, one of these, I don't know if it's YouTube Reels or TikTok or whatever she happens to digest. She wanted to say, she said, "Hey, can you make candy?" So of course, me being the person I am, I decided to do some research and see if this was a viable way to make additional income. I didn't think nothing of it at first. I went to a farmer's market and saw that, the consumers thought there. In my shop, my brick and mortar shop, I decided to talk to some people there. And on Halloween, I decided to see if anybody wanted some freeze-dried candy. So I came up with the brand, some stickers, threw everything together, averaged the cost on a, kind of a spreadsheet, and see would this be cost effective. As of November 31st, I'll probably make roughly about $1,000 in candy sales. And that's subtracting the process of buying stickers and bags, my time, the energy it costs to run a freeze dryer, and so on and so forth. So ironically, probably by the end of December, maybe the first week or so of January, I have made enough money profit-wise in regards to pay for my harvestright freeze dryer. That's not including all the money that I'm saving on freeze drying my own meats, my own poultry, my own fish, my own fruits and vegetables and eggs, and so on and so forth. Now, some folks say, "Great, I don't want to make candy." You don't have to, but you have to get into a mindset where how can you utilize the tools that you have to create additional streams of revenue to help you pay for your preps. And this, for me personally, in my area, happened to work very, very well. Some people say, "How do you do that?" Well, every state differs. In Florida, we have a cottage food license. It's really easy to get into. I suggest that you check it out. And the rest of where you live at, type in the word, Google cottage food license in your state, and I kind of give you the breakdown of how that works. I tell you one thing, folks, it has been keeping me extremely busy trying to keep up with the demand of freeze-dried candy. So that's going to bring me to my next topic. For you folks out there watching this video, is what would you like to see in regards to utilizing a freeze dryer? I don't want to bombard you with lots of different. I can freeze dry every day because that's something that I do and create content out of that. But do you want to see how do you want to see cost analysis? So let's say I do eggs one time, and I show you how much I'm paying for my eggs, how long it takes to freeze dry, give you the cost analysis on the energy spent and the time that it takes, and kind of break it down, show you from the start to the finish of how to process that and create that into a video and kind of share it with you folks. Even if you want to watch the candy process, I could always turn that into a video as well, just so you can see the types of candy and stuff that I do, how I do it. One thing that I noticed, a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of other places, it's really, really hard to find specific ways to freeze dry candy. And what I mean by that is a lot of people are very tight on the settings that you would use for your freeze dryer to process the candy and have a positive outcome. It's been a fun learning experience, and of course, all the candy that doesn't work out so well, the neighborhood kids seem to really enjoy. Anyways, those are just some ideas that I wanted to share with you in regards to a freeze dryer, my thought process on it. So I guess we can follow all this up with the pros and cons. So let's start off with the cons. Everybody wants to know what the cons are, because you're going to hear rumors like, well, freeze dryers aren't worth the initial investment. Freeze dryers cost too much money to run in your home. Freeze dryers this, freeze dryers that. Harvestright doesn't do this right. This other company doesn't do this right. There's always just going to be negativity out there because people either don't follow instructions, don't want to put the work in, the research, and so on and so forth. And like I said, it is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really easy to learn. So let's start off with cons. One, that upfront cost can be a sticker shock, especially if you don't buy it on sale. When you look out there and you think $3,000, and I'm just focusing on the $3,000 because that's what the medium costs roughly. I think they have a sale going on. I tried to look it up before I started this video, and I think they have, because it's Black Friday. Everybody has a sale going on at this point. And of course, again, I will link that all down in the description. But that being said, that upfront cost, it did take me a year myself to save up for a freeze dryer. So then folks are going to say, well, you know, I heard it'll double your electricity bill if you're using a freeze dryer. So I ran a cost analysis on the every day, what it runs me. I have a little watt meter. You've probably seen those things floating around. I'll pop one on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And I've been running it to see how many watt hours and how many watts and volts and all this stuff like that, and how it relates to running this machine if I was to even run it for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you know, all month. And it would increase my power consumption from the math that I did roughly about $33.48. To me, when I incorporate that into the food that I'm processing and the money that I'm bringing in from the machine, it definitely supersedes any type of con that I can think of in regards to power consumption by running this machine. The majority of the time I do batches, and I'll run batches every few days. So it's not like I'm running it 24/7. I'm not going to get into the specifics of like the type of pump that you should buy, because there's variations of pumps, oil-free pumps and the oil pumps and yada, yada, yada. But that's something that I should follow up on if some folks are interested. I guess the other con that you can think of is where are you going to put the freeze dryer? Because you shouldn't put a freeze dryer in a very hot environment like your garage. As you can see here, I'm in my dining room and I've built this whole section to process food. I'm sitting at my dining room table normally where we still will eat and celebrate Thanksgiving. But over here, I have a food grade stainless table. I have my freeze dryer. I have my vacuum chamber sealer. I have shelves over here in regards to put my foods that I'm processing, Mylar bags. Underneath it, I have all my tools and stuff like that. And of course, I want to share all that with you, but this would probably be a 2-hour long video if I went through the entire process. But I found a spot in the house where the humidity levels are extremely low. The coolness of the room temperature of my house is usually around between 70 and 72 degrees. On average. So the freeze dryer itself runs very efficiently. So that's something that you got to think about. Do you have the space where you're going to put it at? So everything runs very smoothly if you decide to invest that kind of money into a freeze dryer. So you do have to do some forethought and thinking in regards to what you're doing if you want to consider that a con. All right, so let's knock out these pros. One, you're going to save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every single year processing and freeze drying your own food for your long-term food pantry. Now, I don't want you to get stuck in the mindset that this is only for long-term food pantry. A lot of people like myself, basically, I make my own MREs. I make my own foods that I still use on an everyday basis. Instead of storing, 8 dozen eggs in my refrigerator or other ways of storing eggs, now I just have a jar with a label on the side that tells me, okay, if I do 2 scoops of this and add 1 cup of water to it, that's going to equivalent to like 2 eggs. So it just makes it really simple. Second, find additional streams of revenue. Rent out the time on the freeze dryer. Start a secondary company or a little kind of mom and pop little side business like freeze drying candy or freeze drying fruits or vegetables and selling them at a farmer's market that people that have a like mindset that would love to buy that and can't afford a freeze dryer. So there's lots of different avenues in regards to making money. When I went down this rabbit hole, I found a lot of different things from freeze drying animal foods like dog food and stuff like that to people who freeze dry flowers in the spring. They freeze dry them and then they use them for weddings in the winter by using a humidifier and all this other stuff like that. It just blows my mind in the amount of stuff that you can freeze dry. When you really go down the freeze dryer rabbit hole, there's just so many pros. It kind of outweighs the cons. When you create a list of pros and cons, that's how I look at anything. That when I kind of go into a direction, I write down the pros and I write down the cons. And if the pros outweigh the cons, I'm probably always going to figure a way to find my way to figure out how I'm going to either obtain or buy or purchase that type of equipment or whatever that I need for me and my family. All right, folks, I hope that gives you at least an introduction into if you're looking into a freeze dryer and how to utilize it and some pros and cons and stuff like that. Of course, all comments are welcome, be it negative, positive, whatever do you own a freeze dryer? Do you utilize it to make additional income, or do you save money by using it just to process your own foods in your prepper pantry or your long-term food storage pantries? However it may play out, I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any other ideas in regards to ways to derive or create revenue from owning a freeze dryer, your experience, if you've used a harvestright freeze dryer or if you've used another brand, that's more than welcome to be down in the comments as well. I'm always looking forward to interacting with a lot of you folks out there because a lot of us as a whole have a lot of information to share. Outside of that, folks, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoys that time with family and friends and just be happy and merry. The holidays is usually a great time to spend with folks. Even if it's you and your husband or extended family, it's just always a wonderful time to make those memories. Outside of that, if you got any helpful information in this video, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button, which is always greatly appreciated, which usually the thumbs up button's on this side, but I'm always doing it on this side. I just happen to notice little things like that as I'm critiquing myself while I'm making this video. As well as if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, take a chance, look at some of the playlists and other videos that we have to offer here on the channel. And as always, folks, remember, you are not alone. This is GREYMAN. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound. God bless all you amazing people out there, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video.